talking about what makes you successful in life, relationships, and business. It's Jump, Pivot, and Roll with Shannon Stiles and Rachel Murphy.
Winston Churchill once said, "We make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give." It's so easy to get caught up in how busy our lives are and forget to give back. We worry about the bills we have to pay, the name we're trying to make for ourselves, our jobs, kids, and everything that comes along with life. But how often do we stop to worry about other people? When you find it in yourself to serve others and put others before yourself, that's when you really level up. I'm Shannon Stiles.
And I'm Rachel Murphy.
Welcome to Jump, Pivot, and Roll. Today, what we'd like to talk to you about is volunteering, getting involved in your community, whether it's local or national, just putting yourself out there to be in a position to help serve others.
Yeah, to give back, giving back. You know, I've often heard, and maybe you've experienced this as well, Shannon, but when somebody is really depressed, one of the key things that they're told is go serve somebody.
Yes.
Go do something, because how can you be sad when you are actually making a change in someone's life? And it sounds so trite, but it's true. I've done this over and over again.
Most definitely. And I've got to say, I think one of the reasons is because I think, Rachel, we take for granted all of the luxuries that we actually have.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I mean, for us in the United States, you know, if we don't have our manicures and pedicures and all these things, right, then we feel like we don't have a lot.
Yeah.
But we forget there are countries where there are kids starving.
There are
and
countries.
They would give anything for a T-shirt.
Yeah, there are countries where we scream about minimum wage, and there are countries that in a month someone doesn't make 1 hour of minimum wage.
Exactly. You know, I read in this book once where this gentleman went to a third world country, and when he got there, he just had, you know, the clothes that he had. He didn't have any of his bags yet. And there was this kid that just loved his T-shirt. It fell in love with this T-shirt. And he was like, "Can I have it? Can I have it?" Well, it was somewhere in Africa, and he was worried about if he took that T-shirt off, then he was worried about what the sun would do and he'd get burnt. So he didn't give it to him. But it made him think about how many T-shirts he had, because it wasn't his best T-shirt. It was just a traveling shirt, right? And it made him think about how many he had just in his drawers that he'd never even touched for years.
Yeah.
I mean, you're a professional organizer. You see it all the time, right?
I see it all the time. Yeah. I just recently worked with a client, and I probably folded 75 T-shirts yesterday. And those were buried out from the back of piles of things. And it's, you know, it's one of those things that I think we are so blessed, even in ugly circumstances in the United States. We are so blessed with abundance. And I'm not saying that nobody's going hungry.
Listen, if you're listening to this podcast today, you have a cell phone in your hand. You have some kind of electronic.
Exactly.
You aren't hurting for food. You aren't begging just to live.
Right.
So I can honestly say anyone listening to this podcast today is privileged.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have so much to be grateful for.
Yes.
We live in such a world of abundance for us personally that it's still not enough. We want more. And I don't want anyone to think that I don't want more from my life, more experiences, and not really a lot about the more things.
Listen, progression equals happiness, right?
Absolutely. And so I don't want anyone to think that, oh, you should just stop progressing and stop doing, and absolutely not, because that's not it either.
Well, no, but I want to add to that, because the more we get, the more we can give.
Absolutely.
That is why we constantly want to level up, because we want to be able to be like the individuals that are making a huge difference in the world. I mean, I had the wonderful opportunity of helping be a part of raising over $100,000 to help feed individuals.
Yep.
And it just so happened to be I was the visionary of that goal. And I can't tell you how amazing that was. It was so incredible. So with this, I also got a trophy, and I got recognized by Tony Robbins, and it was amazing. But I can't tell you, as amazing as that was, Rachel, it didn't even compare to the feeling of knowing that we had fed so many people at the soup kitchen.
Oh, yeah. I still remember you calling me and sharing what was going on. And as the money was coming in and things were going up, it wasn't about winning that you cared about. It's like, look at what's happening. Look at the awareness that we're bringing. And that's really, when Shannon asked me what I wanted to do for our podcast this week, this was the thing that I picked, because this is so close to my heart. And right now for me, I just came off of last weekend, we did an event for Save Our Children. And I'm going to be honest, guys, with the volunteers, and we only did this in 2 weeks, I was praying for 20 to 50 people besides the volunteers to show up. We had somewhere between 200 and 250 people show up from our local community for a cause that meant something to them. And this doesn't have to be your cause. Now, side note, I think this should be everybody's cause.
But you know what? That's the beauty of it, is that I love the fact that it isn't everybody's cause.
It's not.
There are so many areas in our world that need someone to be passionate.
Everywhere. Yeah. I'll give a good example of that is my daughter was with me, Ari, and she gets involved in a lot of causes, but she said, I'm still going to help. I still will volunteer to, be a volunteer, but they're putting a board together. And she said, but this isn't my thing. Making the earth, saving the earth is her thing. She created a group called, Earth Crew, Wichita,
ICT.
Earth Crew. That's
Wichita.
it. Yeah. And she goes out and she picks up trash.
Yeah.
She always has a trash grabber and a bag that she can pick up trash with, and she'll stop at a park and pick up trash, and she invites people out to pick up trash, and she goes to recycling places and learns how the recycling goes. And, that's her cause. She supports other causes, but that's her thing. And that's what we want to encourage you, our listeners, is find your thing. Find your way to give back.
And I'm going to tell you, your thing might change, right? And that's okay.
Absolutely.
Because as we grow, we do change our focus. For example, my thing for so long was kids, and there's a local boys' home that I would go out with my team and the old owner of the agency, and we would go out there and we would give these kids Christmas. I would dress up as Mrs. Claus.
She'd dress up as Mrs. Claus any chance she got.
I do. I love to dress up. But I would dress up as Mrs. Claus. We would take out gifts for each and every one of them. We would take out group gifts. I would bake cookies and make the icing.
4 days.
And we would take it out and we would do those things that these kids probably never had an opportunity to do. Just decorating cookies with someone that loves you and cares about you and is wrapping their arms around you, telling you how great you are and how creative you are, And it doesn't matter what your cause is, just be involved. Because the number one reason is you're needed.
You are. You're needed. There is something that you give that no other person can give. the voice, the hug, the smile, the light, the idea, the vision, the creativity, the artistic ability. There is something that God has put within each of us that is us, uniquely us, and our world needs it so desperately. You know, we're seeing so much divide right now, Shannon. We're seeing so much pain and suffering and destruction. And I just keep wondering if everybody just stopped and instead turned a little more the other way on how can we come together? How can we save the children? How can we feed the children? How can we make the earth more green? How can we help single moms? How can we help single dads? How can we help struggling marriages? How can we, whatever. That's where we have to start. And then all this ugliness, I really believe, will start to fade away.
I agree. You know, when we did the show to promote the organization and the walk that you had, I started the show out with a story, and I want to share it with the listeners because
I love this story.
Because sometimes we think, you know, we live in a world that is so big and it has so many problems, and the problems are huge. These problems are, you know, we start to minimize our value, and we start thinking, well, what difference can I make? And I want to share this story with you. There was this little girl on a beach, and she would walk up to the starfish, and she'd pick them up, and she'd throw it into the ocean. And the people that were on the beach were watching her, kind of entertained and amused by her, and they would giggle, and they'd laugh, and they'd be like, oh, how cute, you know. And this old man goes up to her and says, you know, little girl, what are you doing? And she said, well, the tide is coming in, the sun's going down, and these starfish are being washed ashore, and they're going to die if I don't get them back in. And he looks to the left and he looks to the right, and he sees this huge beach and how big the beach is. And he says, you're not going to be able to save them all. There are so many of them. I mean, how do you think you're going to make a big difference? And she looks at him, and she bends over, and she picks up another one, and she throws it in the ocean. And she goes, I made a difference to that one. And that is the thing. So, but not only that, after she threw that in, he started thinking, and he was like, well, maybe I can make a difference. So he starts throwing them in. Next thing you know, everybody on the beach is picking them up, throwing them in. And it's kind of like the wave at a ball game, right? People start seeing it, and they jump in, and they start doing their part. And before you know it, they have saved all the starfish on the beach from one end to the other. Because volunteering, serving, and caring for others is contagious.
It is. It's absolutely contagious.
When you start doing it and you're passionate about it, and you stand up for what you're doing and you speak out about it, it gets other people involved. And before you know it, you know, just like when I went in there, I had this big idea of giving back and helping Tony Robbins to feed more people. And I didn't think that, I thought maybe if we got 5 people, great. But over $100,000 later, I never imagined it could have been that great. Mm-hmm. And think about, had I not spoke up, and I not said my idea.
That's exactly it. You know, and I think that I want to be really realistic about this. So especially when it is a very hard subject. And what I mean by a very hard subject is it's not popular with the media. It doesn't have all the cute little words. It doesn't have all the cute little this and then that, because it's real. And some of these causes are really ugly. You are going to get people who come out against you. You are going to get people who try to silence you. And the thing that I want you to understand is that when you are being silenced, it is all the more reason to get louder, because your cause and your purpose and your passion behind that counts. Do not let anybody take that away from you, because somebody, just like those starfish, somebody needs that help, that hand, that smile, that reassurance, whatever it is. So please Don't let people silence you.
Well, and that's the bully syndrome, right?
Oh, it is 100%.
That's the bully syndrome. I kind of hate to say this because I am a part of the media in a way. I don't report on the news, but I do have a talk show, and I absolutely hate the media.
Yeah.
And I'm a part of it.
Yeah.
But I do things a little different. I just speak my truth, and, but everything is spun anymore to show your side of it and to promote your agenda. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Promote their agenda. I'll give you an example. So we had the media actually show up at the event. I was shocked.
Masks. Is that what it was?
No.
Okay.
No. They had masks. Almost everybody was wearing masks. I will not comply, so you'll just have to deal with that. But anyways, so the media was asking some really great questions, and we were taping the media doing the interview because we've seen too many times where they've taken this cause and they've tried to turn it. And we're like, we're going to be prepared. And sure enough, towards the end, the newscaster, couldn't think of the word, tried to turn it into something that we tried to turn it political. Totally tried to turn it political.
Remember?
And
we were not long ago, we were at the Hutch Nationals, the races. My husband was announcing it. The news came out, and this is when masks were first. It was a big deal, right?
Right.
And they came out, and here's this historical event.
Huge.
And the media wanted to turn it to...
Are you not complying about the masks?
Exactly.
Yeah. Are you endangering people by supporting this?
We're totally getting off subject here.
Well,
but
so anyways, what I want to say is that they completely tried to change it. They tried to make it political.
Right.
And it was very clear that this was not a political situation. This was a people situation. So the media, if it is not part of their agenda, they are going to try and silence you. And when you have a passion for something you serve, you don't let that happen. And I just want to put that out there so you're aware.
Be creative like you guys were. I mean, you were doing FaceTime Live so that they could spend it all they wanted, but you had the real story out there, right?
Absolutely.
But when it comes to, the first thing you need to realize about volunteering is that you're needed. And no work is small when it comes to volunteering.
None.
Because I'll tell you what, these organizations appreciate every single thing, whether it is you're checking someone in or you're making phone calls for them or, you're getting sponsors and financial. Some people are just gifted at being able to network and to raise money. My husband's one of those.
Yeah.
Some people are just gifted in that area. And if that's an area where God's gifted you, then I encourage you to go out there and to volunteer and to give that gift to an organization that you're very passionate about.
And there's so many. There's Girls on the Run, right? That mentors young girls in elementary school so that they have incredible self-confidence.
Big brother, big sister.
Big brothers, big sisters.
All kinds of things.
There are so many ways. And it's so important that if you want to truly live a successful life, that you find a passion that you can be part of and make that difference.
Another one that's dear to my heart, and this is kind of how I think that you choose. And I want you to talk about why you've chosen to help our the Outreach Underground Railroad. Yeah. But I think that when you're looking for a place to volunteer in, one of the first organizations that I volunteered with is the Women's Domestic Violence. And let me clarify by saying I've never been beat. I've never been, anything like that. I was in a marriage where I didn't realize until I left that he allowed me to buy anything in the world that I wanted. And it all went on my personal credit card. And that's the only money I got was credit. And everything else went through because I stayed at home with the kids. And I didn't realize until I left that was a way of control. And, being in the insurance industry and a financial planner and, being all of these things now, I do realize how that can devastate an individual who's trying to get out of a bad relationship.
It makes you trapped.
So that became something that I was very passionate about. I was very lucky. I have family that loves me and that was willing to be there for me and willing to take my son and I in until we got back on our feet. But some people don't have that.
Right.
And if you've gone through something, I'll tell you what, not only are you needed, you're needed, If someone is going through something and they feel like no one in the world understands, and they meet someone who has been there, who has pushed through it, who has made it to the other side, and who is successful now, you are needed.
100%,
you are needed.
Yes.
It's called hope.
Yeah.
You will bring hope to another individual.
And you may be able, your story may not reflect, may resonate with that person in a way that nobody else's story can. You asked me about which is Operation Underground Railroad. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, I am bringing a chapter of that to Kansas. We do not have one, and I am doing everything I can to make sure that happens.
It's an amazing organization, and I first heard about it when I was with Tony Robbins. He's actually gone on the underground.
He has.
He's gone to get in there and help save people, and it's
see,
incredible.
Yeah, see 4,200 children, and that's the round number is what they've saved so far. So, but part of the reason that I am probably so passionate about this is I am a child of sexual abuse. It happened to me at a very young age by a very trusted resource. And guys, I don't say this because, oh, poor me. I mean, I hate that my childhood had to be part of that, but I'm one of the lucky ones. I got to walk away. Yes, I was scarred. Yes, I went through horrible things. Yes, I had nightmares. Yes, my body was physically violated, but I'm one of the lucky ones who got to walk away and have a life and a marriage and children and be a grandma. And I'm determined that I am going to help others do the same.
Well, and you know what? Because you've been through this, you can be compassionate. And when it comes to the Underground Railroad, I'll tell you what. These women, and let's say it what it is, these kids, they're
kids.
girls.
They're kids. They're boys and girls.
When they come through this, they feel like they're on an island all by themselves. And hear someone who has been through it and who understands what they're going through, that could be the difference between them creating a great life for themselves and them never coming through it.
Oh, yeah. And, I would never be able to relate with a child who was put into sex trafficking. My experience was horrendous for me, but I look at myself as one of the lucky ones. And you don't have to have experienced something like that to make a difference. You know what? Your pocketbook makes a difference. It
Big
takes
difference.
$10,000 for them to go on a mission and rescue a child because they usually have to buy the child back. And then they're able to go in and break down that ring. So if your thing is sitting at home writing a check, write it.
I'll tell you what, that's something that I can't do. And I admire the people that can. There's, Scott Tennant is an amazing friend of mine, and he's an amazing individual, and he wrote a check for $80,000.
Wow.
Yeah. $80,000.
Wow. That's amazing.
I mean, and you know what? I'm going to tell you, I want people to understand this. God has blessed him because God knows that if he gives Scott more money, Scott will put it in the right hands. He will use it for the right reasons. He can trust him with that gift.
Yep. Yep.
And if you have a gift and you're not using it to help others, I don't know how much more refined that gift will be and how much more blessed you will be with that.
Well, not only that, I think it's also how much you will miss out by hiding that gift.
Yeah.
There is nothing greater than standing next to someone who has either been a victim of poor circumstances or whatever, and giving your all to them and just being there with them in that moment. You know, I've done different things. I've done the Girls on the Run. I helped create a organization for the homeless, where we got dozens of sleeping bags donated.
Yep.
And I took truckload after truckload of donations that people would give me. We had 7 drop-offs where people would bring socks and shoes and coats, and I would take them out in the middle of winter, the coldest months, and stand out there and hand them out until everything was gone. And it was incredible. And I talked to our homeless and I heard stories. And, you know, I did all of that until the red tape started getting in the way. And then I couldn't give my heart the way I wanted to. So now I'm doing something else. So, and I'm not trying to talk about all the things I'm doing. I'm talking about how blessed I am to share these moments of greatness. Some of my happiest times are standing there with them and talking to them and hugging them and just.
So
Anyways.
my husband, I need to share that. I want to share this story. My husband and I, our first official date was he was having a sock hop. And it was in the middle of winter in December, and he was out there with the company that he worked with. He had put this together, and they were out there giving away socks to the homeless. They were making hamburgers and hot dogs and passing it all out. And I'll tell you what, there was this woman that walked up to him, and he had a Super Bowl coat on. And this woman walks up to him, and it was an expensive coat, and it's one of those things that not many people have. And she walks up, and she's pushing a stroller with babies in it. And he takes that coat off, and he gives it to her. I knew right then and there, I love this man. Right then and there. All his flaws and everything, I knew right then and there, this is the type of man that I want to be with, because he puts others before himself. And that's what this is about. It's about recognizing how blessed we truly are and turning that into a blessing to others. And at that, we're going to take a quick break to hear a word from our sponsors. You're listening to Jump, Pivot, and Roll. We'll be back in just one moment.
The Jump, Pivot, and Roll podcast is brought to you in part by the Shannon Styles Allstate Insurance Agency. Just as you take that next step in life, you need to take that next step in protecting yourself, your car, your home, and your family. Reach out to Shannon at 316-773-9864 or shoot her an email at sstyles@allstate.com. Also by Simplify My Life ICT. Is your life cluttered? Do you need help with organization? Rachel Murphy can help. Check out Rachel's services online at simplifymylifeict.com or reach out to Rachel at simplifymylifeict@gmail.com. To keep up with the Jump, Pivot, and Roll podcast, make sure to follow them on their Facebook page. Just go to facebook.com/Jump, Pivot, and Roll. There you can find content, podcasts of the show, discussions with Rachel and Shannon, and more. Plus, make sure to subscribe to the podcast on any of your favorite podcasting sites, from iTunes and Spotify, Google Play to TuneIn, and right on their Podbean site at jumppivotandroll.podbean.com. And for all the exclusive content, make sure to become a VIP member on their Patreon site. Just go to patreon.com/Jump, Pivot, and Roll.
And welcome back to Jump, Pivot, and Roll. I'm Shannon Styles.
And I'm Rachel Murphy.
And today we're talking about one of our favorite subjects, and that is giving back.
Yes.
It is about volunteering. It's about, listen, you don't have to recreate the wheel. If you want to
Absolutely
make a
not.
difference, there are so many organizations out there. There are organizations that support families, the elderly, the daycares. There are organizations that improve the schools. You know, maybe you're good at reading or tutoring or literacy, whatever. We have community health organizations where, you know, for families and patient support and education, animal rights or protecting the animals, right? We're helping out at the animal shelter, rescue,
Donating
rehabs.
old towels like WAL.
Yes.
WAL is Wichita Animal Action League. Donating your old ratty towels. That makes a difference. You know, I think so many times we think, oh my gosh, I barely have time to do anything. What can I do? So I'm going to give you a couple of things you can do. That's one of them. Find the cause that your heart is in, and just call them and say, what can I do? I don't have the time. I don't necessarily have the financial resources, but what can I do? Here's what you can do. You can share a post on social media that they shared.
Yes.
You can share a GoFundMe that they shared. You can... What?
Keep going.
Okay. You can share things that no longer bless your life. His helping hands. I mean, guys, it goes on and on. Dress for Success. Clothes don't fit you? Great. Take them and drop them off at Miller's Dry Cleaner so they can go to Dress for Success so that they can help women who have been in abusive situations, who have got training, who are now entering the workforce, have some different outfits to wear. So much can be done.
So you started this out saying, you know, so many times we say we don't have time and we're so stressed out. And I'm going to tell you right now, when you put others before yourself, when you take that time and you actually volunteer and you serve others, your stress level goes down.
So far down.
It reduces and your mood improves, and you start looking at life in a different through a different view, right? You have a different perspective on life because now you see how truly blessed you are. I don't care. There was a time in my life when I was not making much money at all. I say this a lot. I was making less than $10,000 a year. I was going to college full time with my son, and I made it a point to still tithe. I didn't have enough money for my rent, but I made it a point to still tithe. Why? Because although I was in a really, really bad place and I was starting over, there was someone worse than myself out there. There is always, we live in the United States of America. We live in an amazing, amazing country.
Greatest country on earth.
And I don't care what hardships somebody is going through, someone else has it worse. So when we start putting them before ourselves and when we start giving to them, like you said, it doesn't have to take a lot. It doesn't have to be, it could be 2 seconds, right? Of
It
just
can.
sharing,
It can.
helping
Sharing
with
a post.
awareness.
Awareness is huge. And, you know, I want to bring this up real quick because I know that a lot of young mothers, I had 4 munchkins at home. And so I know how limited your time is. But you know what I did? Every time the kids had a holiday off from school,
Right.
we went to the food bank.
Yep.
And together, one day, they owed me one day to give back to our community. And we would go and we would spend the day at the food bank putting together backpack for kids. And it's where they had a big Ziploc bag and you put all this little snacky stuff in this bag that they would then slip into the backpacks and the kids would take it home. And this is what they would eat until they came back to school. They were making sure that they had something. And I still remember the day that my son, and I think he was probably 13 years old at that time. And we were racing. We were trying to see how many could we do in an hour, how many we could do in an hour. And we made it so much fun. But my son said, Mom, this is what I have in about 2 snacks a day.
Yeah.
And I turned to him and I said, absolutely. Do you know how blessed and lucky you are? And he was really silent because we were laughing and he was really silent for a long time. And I looked over and I seen a tear running down my son's face. And I thought, bingo, he gets it.
Yeah.
So moms, Take your kids, make them part of it. If your child is cleaning out toys and you're getting ready for the holidays and Christmas, have your kid take those toys that are in good condition, nothing broken, nothing ripped up.
Listen,
please,
I want to challenge you.
Take it to the children's home.
I want to challenge you to go a step further. Take your best toy. Take your favorite outfit. Then you're really making a difference.
You
right?
are. I mean, then you're really feeling the sacrifice. But just teaching them how to have compassion for a situation that they don't see, guys, is life-changing for them. And it'll be one of the happiest moments that you look back on as a mom.
You're leading by example. You're showing them you're being a good role model. Now, I do want to I want to kind of change paths here for a second.
Okay.
And I want to point out a fact that by volunteering, sometimes it can be the path to learning.
Yeah, absolutely.
For example, Black Lives Matter. All right. I'm not volunteering with Black Lives Matter. But what I'm saying is that right now is a huge issue in our society. That African Americans are not treated equally. That, let's face it, their communities, for the majority of African Americans, they live in poverty. We have an issue there, right?
We do have an issue there. Absolutely.
And not that I think that certain organizations, you have to be very, very careful about what organizations you're volunteering in, because some of them have their own agenda and the money doesn't actually go back to where you think it does. But by getting involved and volunteering for some of this stuff, I believe that we can learn about different cultures. We can learn about other people that struggle, that maybe, we don't realize it because we do live a pretty darn plush life, right?
Yeah. I mean, there are poor communities in all races, but what can we do to make a difference?
Yeah.
We can do a book drive. We can volunteer to read in school once we can go back in the school. I mean,
go tutor someone in that community.
So much. And I guess that's what we wanna say. And I guess here is my challenge, because you guys know I love to give you a challenge. I want you to think deep and search inside your heart and your soul and figure out what lights you up, or what breaks your heart when you read it, when you see it. What causes that just to have to look away? And I want you to stop looking away. And I want you to find out one way, one thing you can do to make a difference. Share a post, raise awareness, donate money, donate time, something. Anything.
You see that homeless individual on the side of the street, and they're sitting there and they stink, right? And you can tell they've been out there for a long time. Invite them to sit down at a meal with you. How many people are going to do that? I don't know, but I do believe that the quality of individuals that listen to this podcast will be willing to do that. Give them your friendship. They need it, right?
They count too.
They count too.
Everybody
And you know what?
Counts.
We are living in a time right now where every single U.S. citizen should realize how close we are to poverty. How easy it would be for us to be homeless. So instead of us judging these individuals, let's be a part of changing it. Let's be a part of putting our hearts out there, because every volunteer can make a difference. And don't underestimate your value and your worth and what you bring to something. No matter how small your part is, you have the potential to, you know what? You could be that first domino.
That's right. That's exactly it. You are throwing in that first starfish. You made a difference to that one.
We want to thank you so much for listening today, because I know that each and every person that has listened to the very end of this and is waiting for Rachel's challenge and heard Rachel's challenge, I know you do this because you have a heart of gold and that you want to make a difference in this world, and you have the ability. Just because maybe you don't have a radio show or a podcast or you don't have all of these things, you are listening to this because you are of the same mindset. You are exactly like we are, and you want to create a legacy and you want to make a difference in this world. And that's where it starts, is by serving as others.
Absolutely, Shannon. I don't think you could have said that better. We really appreciate our listeners. We appreciate your support. We appreciate the way you share and like and comment. And, you know, my challenge, you heard what it is. Guys, I would love if you would send me a message or something letting me know how you accepted that challenge, because we have the power to change our world. All we have to do is put our toe on that line and start to make it happen.
Life doesn't always come with directions. Sometimes you have to jump, pivot, and roll. If you like today's podcast, please share it out. That might be the way you're making a difference in the world. You might share it to someone who has $1 million to give to that organization. Who knows? But make a difference. Like, share it, and leave us your comments. We really want to hear from you. We want to know what you want to hear about because we are here for you. Have a wonderful week.
Bye, guys.